Hey, everybody. All right, so toward the end of our mentor text, it's always a good idea to think about what we remember about those texts and make some comparisons. Find some similarities or important differences between them. So, I chose two of my favorites. The one we're reading this week, Brave Bessie, right? And Amelia Earhart, one of the first ones we read. We're going to talk about some Amelia Earhart facts. We're going to look at some Brave Bessie facts, and then we're going to see if we can't find anything that they have in common. So, just in case you don't remember these stories, I jotted down a few facts from Amelia. Not a million, but a few. Amelia was a famous airline pilot. More than 85 years ago, she bravely flew across the Atlantic Ocean. She was the first woman to do this. Then Earhart tried to become the first woman to fly around the world. The U.S. Navy led a huge search for the pair for more than 2 weeks. Remember, she ended up going missing. Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting with that last fact. When you think about Bessie here, she was born in Texas more than 100 years ago. She was of African American and Native American descent. As she was trying to go to school to be a pilot, she found that she never could get in, right? No U.S. school would let her in. Coleman decided to try studying to be a pilot in France. That's where she learned to fly, and she started doing all kinds of crazy stunts and exhibitions. And her dream, if you remember, was to open a school to teach other African Americans how to fly. But sadly, she died young before that dream could come true. So just as a little bit of a reminder, now, what are some things that these pilots had in common, and what are some things that they maybe had as differences? Well, I remember both Brave Bessie and Amelia Earhart were pilots. That's something that I noticed right away. They're in the same mentor text. They're in the same subject matter. They're talked about as both being pilots. One of them tried to fly around the world. Remember that? She flew across the ocean first, and that's what made her famous, and then she tried to fly around the world. So I'm going to say around the world. Bessie never did that. If you remember, Bessie did more tricks or stunts. So she did lots of stunt flying. Like loop-de-loops and barrel rolls and all kinds of exciting flying like that. So I found one thing that they have in common and something that's kind of different. I can think of another thing that they have in common right away. They are both women. And because of that, becoming pilots was difficult for both of them, right? No one thought Amelia or Bessie should be pilots. They kind of thought that maybe that was something men would do. Something that was different, though, is Amelia Earhart, she is white, whereas Bessie was Native American and African American, right? Right? Native and African descent. And that also posed some problems for Bessie. If you remember, there were some schools that wouldn't accept her because of her race, and then other schools that maybe wouldn't have accepted her because she's a woman. So we have some differences. We have some similarities. Any other... Oh, I got a sad similarity. They both died young. Remember, back then, flying was very dangerous. The planes were still new. They weren't as safe as they are now. So that was one other thing they had in common. Let's see. Bessie wanted to start a flying school. I'm not sure if Amelia Earhart, I don't think it talked about anything that she wanted to do, as far as a big goal like that. Let's see. Amelia Earhart, Bessie. I think this is a good start. There might be some details that I've left off, but remember, this Venn diagram used to compare two stories or two things is a useful tool. It's a great visual to show people that there are important differences and some similarities between these texts. And that's probably why the author chose to put them together. Thanks, guys. Bye now.